Chemicals killed dozens of salmon in West Vancouver Creek. Volunteers of the West Vancouver Steamkeeper Society are in shock after urban runoff killed dozens of coho salmon attempting to spawn in local creeks. For years, the stewardship group has worked with West Vancouver secondary students every fall to survey salmon returns in Brothers Creek. The first week of survey found some promising numbers, but then at the end of October, it turned tragic, said John Barker, past president and volunteer with the Streamkeepers. Streamkeepers, not Steamkeepers. The creek banks below Inglewood Avenue were lined with more than 40 carcasses of otherwise healthy-looking coho, which is extremely high for this early in the spawning season. Barker walked the creek banks, examining the carcasses. 3 of the females he inspected still had full egg sacs, indicating they hadn't spawned yet. This is just devastating, he said. In 20 years with the Streamkeepers, I've never seen any event like this. What killed the fish? Barker said the Society's contacts with the Fisheries and Ocean Canada told him it was the likely cause of urban runoff mortality syndrome, and the culprit was probably 6-ppd quinone, a chemical sprayed onto vehicle tires to prevent them from cracking. The chemical builds up on roadsides where it becomes more toxic as it is exposed to the sunlight. When it rains, 6-ppd is washed into the storm water system, eventually fish-bearing creeks. Coho that are exposed to the chemicals first show signs of being disoriented, losing their balance and swimming in circles. And there's no recovery from it, Barker said. It looks like it's a fairly sudden death. Bafflingly, the toxins affect different salmon species in different ways. Coho salmon are the most likely to be killed. Chum and pink salmon don't seem to be affected at all, Barker said. But why now? 6-ppd, go away, isn't a new chemical, and its risks to coho have been well documented since the 1990s, Barker said. What has changed though is our climate. Let me grab a drink. It used to be that late summer or early fall rains would flush the chemicals out of the creek system before the salmon returned. Now, with drought conditions lasting right into October, the toxic 6-ppd and the coho are arriving in the creeks at the same time, Barker said. Everything is dry as it can be, and when we get one of these massive storms that comes in and just overloads us with water, the loss is tragic and frightening to think of the future. Barker said it appears that many of the dead fish had their adipose fins clipped, indicating they were likely ones that came from the Capilano River hatchery. No one knows if wild spawn salmon are less susceptible than their hatchery bred cousins, although they do tend to be hardier overall. While it's too late for dozens of fish killed by the runoff, Barker said there is some good news that it appears to be an isolated incident. The students were back on the creek out on Sunday and found more fish arriving in greater numbers preparing to spawn, apparently unaffected by the late October plume of 6-ppd. This thing has done its damage and has been washed away. It's gone, it's over. Anything arriving after that pulse is going to survive, he said. We got coho coming through in good numbers and pink and chum salmon in fairly good numbers. Hard sentence. Barker said their minds are now turning to how a similar tragedy may be prevented in the future. While there's no movement afoot to see 6-ppd pulled from tire manufacturing process, there may be ways to mitigate the pollution before it hits the waterways. Barker said there has been some proven success using plant and soil-based filtration systems at major entrances to the storm water system to capture the offending chemicals before they harm wildlife. This is something they plan to bring up with the District of West Vancouver, Barker said, although he said it would be a huge project to tackle. I can't imagine the magnitude of what it would take to slow down what happened, but I've read it has been that it has been some success. He said it sounds like a fairly hefty undertaking, but the expense of fish is well worth exploring. No one from Fisheries and Ocean Canada responded to a North Shore News request for comment on Tuesday. This is where I live, guys. Vancouver. There's a lot of runoff, especially too since we live right on the hill. The entire BC area is just all mountains. And so as they were saying, when it's dry, a lot of the chemicals that we use on cars and other vehicles builds up on the roads. And one big rush of rain picks up all those chemicals, and some unlucky animals going through that area at the time manage to get hit, and they end up getting killed. So it looks like people are aware of it, at least. We do have a lot of groups here also that do watch our creeks and rivers and manage their health, so hopefully something is being done, but who knows. Those will all be concrete waterways one day. Not hopefully, obviously.